My life is a conspiracy story. When I wanted to go to England, I was waiting to get funds.
Yes, sir.
And after a few months, my mentor in England wrote to me saying, yes, now I can fund you. And who might be the funder? It was Sheikh Rashid of Dubai. So biobanking becomes a very important aspect of research. I published first paper of central obesity in Indians. 3 years later, I have 30 minus 83.
That's a huge number. That's a huge number.
And like say, I remember the first measurement we had to standardize was none other than blood glucose.
Yes, sir.
First, we set up glucose oxidase peroxidase method.
Hello, everyone. Today we are here for the Genuine podcast from the D-Genius. This is Dr. Sarita Kakani, practicing diabetologist from Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. And today we have with us one of the most celebrated medical scientists of India, who needs no introduction at all because his work speaks a lot about him. And we will be discussing on diabetes, his journey in diabetes research, and a lot more. He is none other than Dr. Chittaranjan Yagnik, who happens to be the consultant and director at the KEM Hospital, Pune. He needs no introduction, but it is my honor to formally introduce him today to the audience. Sir received many awards for his outstanding contribution in diabetes research, and one of it is the Helmut Mehnert Award from the International Diabetes Federation, the David Barker Medal from the International Doha Society, and the Outstanding Investigator Award from World India Diabetes Foundation. And Sir happens to be the member of many organizations like the Department of Biotechnology, the National Institute of Nutrition, the ICMR, the WHO, and also the Wellcome Trust from UK. So it is my honor to introduce Sir and present him to you all today. I'm sure the next few minutes will be filled with profound learning and full of insights for us. Welcome, sir.
Namaste. Yeah.
Sir, we will begin with how your diabetes research journey started. What really inspired you to take up research in diabetes? Can you tell us a bit about it, sir?
Right. It all began more than 45 years ago when I was a medical student.
Yes, sir.
At the BZ Medical College and the Sassoon General Hospitals in Pune. That's a public hospital.
Yes.
And people from lower socioeconomic group, then lower socioeconomic government servants come there.
Yes.
And even in 1970s, the most populated specialty clinic at the Sassoon Hospital was the diabetes clinic. And I was given the job of being a registrar in charge of diabetes department. So I started filling out forms for the patients. And BMI was completely new to me. I calculated a BMI on some of the patients and found that our patients are much thinner than what we learn from the textbooks.
Yes, sir.
And that was my first curiosity awakener, that diabetes in Indians seems to be somewhat different, and over a period of time I thought I should do research on this.
Yes, so back then there were no hospitals or units dedicated separately for diabetes, but still you had that interest to look into patients with diabetes in such depth. So what made you coin the term thin fat Indians, and can you also tell us a bit on the YY paradox?
Okay. So I was a student, I was interested in diabetes, so I thought I should learn more about research.
Yes, sir.
And that's how I did 3 years in Oxford.
Yes, sir. And I know you always refer to Oxford as the Mecca of diabetes.
True.
Yeah.
It was the Mecca of diabetes then, it is to some extent now. And I learned so much.
Yes.
And the most important thing my boss kept telling me, unless you ask a correct question, you will never get an answer.
Yes.
So that was a great learning. Second thing I did in Oxford was to volunteer in so many of the studies
Yes.
as a control. And I was only 55 kg then, body mass index 20,
Okay.
and my circulating glucose and insulin levels were higher than my registrar,
Yes.
who was 85 kg
Oh,
and 5 feet 8 inches.
that really is interesting. Yeah.
So that triggered my interest
Yes, sir.
in characterizing Indian diabetes from viewpoint of biochemistry
Yes.
and endocrinology.
Yes, sir.
So I decided to come back to India. Was very lucky to get grants from the Wellcome Trust
Yes.
and set up a specialized diabetes research unit at the KEM Hospital.
Yes, that's so nice to hear, sir. But I think the time when you came back to India from UK, the resources were very scant. Not much of infrastructure was available back then. How did you manage to continue your research, and how could you really overcome the challenges in diabetes research?
Like say, I remember the first measurement we had to standardize was none other than blood glucose.
Yes, sir.
So the laboratories, you are doing all sorts of old non-specific methods.
Yes.
So first we set up glucose oxidase peroxidase method.
Yes.
I couldn't have afforded an auto analyzer.
Yes, sir.
So we had an expert biochemist who used to do it for us.
Oh.
But it was specific glucose measurement as opposed to reducing substance,
Yes.
which used to be the principle for
Yes.
the older tests. That actually it started telling me that I need to create infrastructure.
Yes.
If I have to do something, I started thinking what I will need. So obviously you need space,
Yes.
you need
Team,
expert
a good
staff,
team. Yes.
that's
Yes.
team.
Because research is always that team.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then you need relevant technology,
Yes, sir.
and then you need a patient population and an ability to ask the right question.
Yes, sir.
And this became fruitful in 1993
Yes.
when people like Firodiaz, Bajaj
Yes.
and Pandit Bhimsen Joshi did a program for me
Oh,
as a charity
that's so
program.
Nice, sir. Yeah.
So that allowed me to raise money to start a daycare center for treatment of diabetes and a diabetology research center.
That's so nice to
That's
hear,
true.
sir. That's so nice. And
I
that's,
keep saying, actually, it's interesting. You probably heard of Pablo Coelho
yes, sir.
and his famous book,
Say-
Alchemist.
Yes.
So he says, if you want to do something, the world universe
The Lord and entire
conspires to you.
Conspires, yeah.
And
helps
my
you
whole,
achieve it. Yes,
exactly.
Sir. Yes, sir.
So my life is a conspiracy story. When
Yes.
I wanted to go to England, I was waiting to get funds,
Yes, sir.
and after a few months, my mentor in England wrote to me saying, yes, now I can fund you. And who might be the funder? It was Sheikh Rashid of Dubai, who had given £1 million for research in diabetes, and first beneficiary was Ranjan Yagnik.
So I think that is a good first step for you. And it
And
was
I
a
came
first
back to
successful
India.
Step. Yeah.
I became a pool officer
Yo.
because I had to earn some money, and they would place me in Sassoon Hospital while I wanted to work in KEM Hospital where I work today,
Yes.
because it was possible to do long-term follow-up studies in KEM Hospital. So one day I opened my TV in the evening and Rajiv Gandhi was on the screen,
Yes.
and he was speaking to the scientists at the MIT in Boston,
Asking them to come back and
asking them to
contribute
come
the
back
motherland.
as
Yeah.
a brain
Yes, sir.
trust rather than a brain drain.
Yes.
And he said that those scientists who come back will be placed in the institute of their choice.
Oh.
So I wrote to Rajiv Gandhi next day, and within 3 weeks he transferred me
And you got
from
back
Sassoon
into
Hospital into
KEM.
KEM.
That's so nice.
So again, one more conspiracy,
yes.
partners being Rajiv Gandhi and myself.
Yes.
So that is how it started.
Yeah.
And then from my own measurements in Oxford, I knew that metabolism in Indians looks different.
Yes, sir.
And we started investigating, and in 1991, I published first paper of central obesity in Indians being a more important risk factor
Yes, sir.
than the generalized
Generalized
obesity.
obesity.
So that brought it to obesity, adiposity, and therefore I had to make body fat measurements.
Yes.
Again in Oxford, I had learned to use skin calipers
Yes, sir.
to measure the subcutaneous fat.
Subcutaneous fat. Yeah.
And in the first study, I realized that at a given BMI, Indians have higher subscapular skin fold thickness,
Yes.
which is a central fat, and in addition to waist hip ratio, gives you a very good indication.
Yes.
So simple technology, but gave us great information.
Yes.
And then came John Yudkin.
Yes. And the YY paradox.
Yeah.
Yes.
So John Yudkin and I decided to do a detailed study of body fat in Indians.
Yes, sir.
So we measured body fat by 5 different techniques. Advanced techniques,
Yes, sir.
simple techniques. One of them was DEXA. Now we use the philosophy that if we are expecting the participants to get tested by 5 different methods, the investigators should also test themselves.
Yes.
They should understand.
So that's how you both
So
got
that's
into
how
the
we
study. Yes.
both got into the study. And the most surprising thing was when we measured height and weight, we realized we had identical body mass
Yes.
index. So identical BMI came as a big surprise to us.
Yes.
So then we were very anxious to know
the body
what will
fat.
be our body fat.
Yes.
So we went on the DEXA machine, measured it, and to everyone's surprise, perhaps not to my surprise,
Yes.
we found that I had twice the amount of body fat as a percent compared
Yes.
to John Yudkin.
Yes.
And that's how the idea of YY paradox was born.
Yes.
And that's the basis of the thin fat
Thin fat
Indian theory.
index. Very nice. A very
Yeah.
nice thing.
Yes.
And this show would definitely be incomplete if I would not ask you about the Pune Maternal Nutrition Study. How did it all start? And can you tell a little about it?
Right. So when I described the thin fat Indian, everyone told me it has to be genetic.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, everything is
Everything is
genetic.
genetically programmed.
But
yeah.
I had learnt about influence of environment
Yes.
on the genes. And in 1991, I was singularly lucky that David Barker came to Pune and met me.
Yes.
And that one half an hour meeting completely changed my thinking, so that I told David, okay, I am now going to become your follower and I will investigate intrauterine origins
Yes.
of the diabetes in Indians. And that's how we set up the Pune Maternal Nutrition Study to investigate the determinants
Yes.
of fetal growth in Indians, because as you know,
Yes.
Indian babies are the smallest in the world
Yes.
with a birth weight of 2.7, 2.8
Yes.
kg. So we set up this study, but at the back of my mind, I had all my previous experience
Yes.
of Indians being more fat than other populations. So I measured the babies in the Pune Maternal Nutrition Study at birth, not only as birth weight, but 8 different anthropological measures. So it was a very detailed
long,
anthropometry.
Detailed and very long study, yes.
And then I was lucky that David Barker had data on 550 babies born in Southampton using same techniques.
Oh,
And then the answer stared at us that an Indian baby, which was 800 grams lighter than the English baby was 3.5 kg, Indian baby 2.7
yes.
kg, and Indian babies had more subscapular fat than the English babies. So from thin fat adult, we went to thin fat newborn Indian baby,
Yes.
which means that this body composition is programmed in utero.
Yes. So
It's not the effect of
diabetes
adult
is
life
programmed much
earlier.
before, much
And
earlier.
that was David Barker's theory.
Yes.
Fetal programming of diabetes
Diabetes.
by low birth weight. I added one more explanation.
Yes.
Okay, it's due to programming of body composition,
Yes.
and we also measured cord blood
Yes.
of Indian babies, compared
uh,
it with English babies.
Did you have any challenges collecting so many cord blood samples and managing them, storing them? Was it not an issue for you in collecting the samples?
Yeah, I mean, it was of course an issue, but I was really passionate.
Yes.
I was driven. So I had these -80 freezers with me, which I had got as part of the applications, and we stored all these bloods.
Yes, sir.
Today, 30 years later, I have 30 -80 freezers
That's
in
a
my
huge
department
number. That's a huge number.
and more than 500,000 tubes in these 30 freezers.
Yes.
So, biobanking becomes a very important aspect of research, and it's important for young people to understand that if you are doing a study today but carefully biobank the samples, they might come to you useful 20 years later.
Yes.
Otherwise,
It
you have
helps
to
in
do the
studying
study
the
again.
profiles after they become adults.
Otherwise, you have to do the study
yes,
again. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So that's how actually it all happened. Okay, you have an idea of doing something, you have to ask right question,
Yes.
then you have to develop good methods,
Yes, sir.
then you have to have participation of the community, and then you have to ask the relevant question.
To get a relevant answer, and that is very
Exactly.
important research. So, as Dr. Yagnik says, asking the relevant question is very important to get back that relevant answer in research. Sir, how did you overcome all the challenges faced by you in the earlier days?
Right. Okay. As I said, okay, now in retrospect, I know the universe conspired to help me.
Yes.
So it's a conspiracy theory, first with Sheikh Rashid, then Rajiv Gandhi, then Mrs. Banu Koyaji,
Yes.
who was the head of the hospital where I worked. She promoted me.
Yes.
She made things possible in various ways. She had actually a very good established center in the villages to study maternal mortality. So she was in close contact with the community. Community believed in her. That's how I could set up Pune Maternal Nutrition Study. People didn't mind me asking them every month the women their menstrual dates,
Yes.
then measuring them, because they knew something good will come out of it.
And it really happened.
And
That
it
is
happened.
a big breakthrough study, in fact. Yeah.
And then it is, of course, funding.
Yes.
And again, I got lucky.
Yes.
Because of my Oxford collaboration, I got the first grant from Wellcome Trust. We delivered very good results. I became actually like
Yes, sir.
favorite with them.
Yes.
And in 2012, they told me that I was only one outside the Wellcome Institutes to be funded continuously for 25 years by the Wellcome Trust.
Yes.
Which went a long way.
Yes.
In our research.
Yes,
Yeah.
it went a long way in taking research to greater heights.
Absolutely.
And it's so wonderful, sir, to hear your journey. And what is the advice you would like to give for young aspiring researchers to build a successful career in research?
So researchers, I think, have to be very careful in using their sensory systems.
Yes.
Their eyes, their ears,
Yes.
their brain, and then first define a good question,
Yes.
then learn the methodology.
So they should be coordinated. They should have clarity on
course.
what to work on and how to go ahead.
Correct.
Form a good team.
Form a good team, then have a passion. And if you don't get answer very quickly, don't sulk.
Yes.
Continue
Don't
to
give
work.
up. Continue to work.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So these are the qualities which makes a good researcher.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are doing this today on behalf of DGenius, and DGenius is a group of young, active and dynamic diabetologists from all over India who strive spreading diabetes awareness by all means they can. We do a lot of patient awareness programs, we do scientific webinars for doctors, and we have participation from doctors across the country. And this is our first attempt, genuine podcast with scholars like Dr. Yagnik sir. We are starting this podcast series to spread knowledge on diabetes and to share the inspiring stories of such legends, because many more young diabetologists can build their careers taking advice from these gurus. So it was an absolute
Thank
honor
you.
and privilege, sir, to have you today.
Thank you very
And thank you
much.
so much for all the wonderful insights, and your journey is really inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you.